Now, look, it's no use gilding the lily. What's happened in Victoria is a social and economic disaster. 5 million Victorians are facing a bitter winter in isolation. As I said to Adam Crichton last night, this is for 106 deaths. Now, that's tragic, but the death toll in Australia each year averages 440 a day. We can't walk away from the fact that the cost of all this has already been borne by business and individuals in the private sector. No one in the public sector, politician or public servant, has surrendered a red cent. But our government outlay is already greater than anything government has done since and including the Great Depression. Again, as Adam Crichton said to me last night, not in a century have we as a nation become so poor so quickly. Yet today we learn that in the economic statement that Treasurer Frydenberg will hand down on July 23, there'll be more income support. Many are asking correctly, what will happen when JobKeeper and JobSeeker, those supplements, phase out in September? Well, tonight I want to look at the here and now. Firstly, to today's lockdown in Melbourne from 1 minute to midnight. Just consider one aspect of this. Victoria's international education industry. It's worth $12.55 billion, and this second lockdown will leave 27,000 foreign students studying at Melbourne University stranded overseas. And as I've said, with international tourism smashed, and some say that won't get back, cop this, to normal until 2023, our economy is going to lose massive amounts of foreign exchange from tourism and education. Well, the International Education Association Chief Executive, Phil Honeywood, joins me from Melbourne. Phil, thank you for your time.
Good evening, Alan.
What does this so-called second wave mean to the international education industry?
Well, Victoria's really crippled it for the whole of Australia. We're talking about a $40 billion a year industry, according to the Bureau of Statistics, and we're about to have pilot returning students. So pilot programs, Gladys was putting one up to National Cabinet in New South Wales, South Australia and ACT were first cabs off the rank, and what's now happened is they've all been put on the back burner because of Victoria's let the side down.
So 27,000 students who'd normally come to Melbourne University are stranded overseas.
So 27,000 that should have been here couldn't get here. And in addition to that, another 80,000 that would come after March haven't been able to come here. In the meantime, Alan, Boris Johnson in UK has opened the borders up for international full fee paying students. So he's getting it at our expense. And he's actually even gone so far as to say, do a 1 year master's in a UK university, any UK university, and you can stay and work in our economy for 2 years full time after you do a 1 year master. So, our competitor countries are really making hay at our expense.
But what Australians still don't understand is this is Victoria's, am I right, biggest export industry. Bigger than tourism, absolutely. Bigger than wool.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
Yeah. So Victoria is the only state in Australia where education is the biggest export.
Now, if we look at our number plates for Victoria, that's correct. Under Jeff Kennett, we were Victoria on the move. Under Steve Bracks, we became the place to be, which was a very static image. We're now the education state, but there's no education happening here. Our schools are closing down again. Our university campuses can't open up. And the rest of Australia, of course, at least we'll be able to take domestic students. But because of Victoria, our national industry, this $40 billion industry that employs 240,000 Australians in jobs, has been put to waste power.
This is frightening. This is frightening stuff. I mean, basically, Phil, we'll leave it there. But, I mean, just finally, you are competing, aren't you, with the UK and Canada? They'll take the students. Just one final question. How can you be sure these students will come back?
Well, there's no guarantee because we've been waiting 4 months for the student visa flexibility package. And in the meantime, those other countries have announced all of the various concessions, the work rights, everything else. In the meantime, we've got apartment towers in Melbourne that are now empty. The international students pay high rent to live in normally. We've got retail outlets that primarily cater for international students, yes. Latin Americans, Asian kids. Yeah. They're all now closing down. So it's not just tuition fees that keep our universities afloat. It's actually accommodation. It's mum and dad coming out as tourists to go up to Sydney from Melbourne and so on. It's a very big industry. Massive issue. Look, our thoughts are with you, Phil. We'll leave it there, but we will keep in touch. Now, look, that's Phil in relation to international education.